ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So today we are continuing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 24. So far just we have seen the first 23 verses wherein the symptoms of Kali was again discussed, and then Maharaj Parikshit, he comes forward with that of a real king who has this ability to give protection to the prajas and to give to uphold the dharma. He comes forward and he soothes the bull and the cow. He assures them he's going to punish the perpetrator. Meanwhile, he also wants to get a confirmation just to know who is the perpetrator, who did this to you. And then we saw a whole discussion between the dharma and the king, or rather the dharma is explaining the causes for suffering. What is the cause for suffering and what is the right perspective? Just to summarize that the final understanding of the entire discussion was that the actual cause of suffering is our own activities that we have done in our past, so that we have laid the seeds of the karmic defects, whatever sinful activity that we have performed, we are getting a result of that. And the proper outlook should be, we should not blame the instrument of the sin or the person who is performing the sin, or who is actually creating the externally, who has been the instrument in our suffering. We should not find fault with him. Rather, what we should do is we should understand clearly that he is just an instrument in my karma, and we should also learn lesson from this, that by accepting this suffering as a plan of the Lord or the mercy of the Lord, we make proper progress. We undergo the purification, and finally we become purified, and we will be able to serve the Lord with proper attitude. And that's what the whole Bhagavatam is teaching us. Specifically in this discussion, that was a highlight. And also we saw, because of the influence of Kali and Maya, very difficult to be not bewildered. In the material world, easily one can get bewildered, but how we will not be bewildered? What will be our situation to always be in the position of taking shelter of the Lord and having proper understanding what is to be done, how one can be in that situation? That is going to be discussed in the upcoming verses. So we will see the importance of the four regulative principles, and the need to uphold the principles of dharma. If we take up those, then what is going to happen? What will be the consequence of it? How we will be protected from the effects of Kali? How we will be protected from Maya? All those things we are going to discuss now. So I did tell about the previous class. If you have any questions or anything to discuss, maybe if you have, probably I just thought of taking it at the end. I'll give some time. So you have some questions, you can just raise at the time. Meanwhile, I'll just continue with the flow of the verses. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that in the last verse we saw Maharaj Parikshit, upon concluding his reply to Dharma, prepares to kill Kali. Kali submissively bows down and surrenders to the king Maharaj Parikshit and spares Kali's life, but orders his banishment. Now this is what is going to happen in this sequence of verses, wherein Parikshit comes forward to kill Kali, but then as Kali surrenders, how Parikshit responds to this surrender, how he deals with the situation, how he shows his strictness and lenience, how his non-compromising attitude. At the same time, he is compassionate, how he is dealing, and also setting an example how a leader should be, and also how very thoughtfully he is accommodating Kali. He gives place to Kali so that he can survive. Okay, we will see that. Text 24. Tapashaucham dhaya satyam iti padakrite kritaha adharmang shaistrayo bhagna smaya sangamadaistava. Smaya sangamadais. Okay. Now the question is answered in this. Why do we have to follow the four regulative principles? Why you are forcing yourself into the four walls? Why you are just implicating yourself rules and regulations on you? Why all these things? Why not just be a free bird? So many people may ask so many questions. In this verse, not in the verse and the purport, very nice solution is discussed, and also we can see in this theme will be maintained, how to correct the different flaws in the society. What are the practical solutions can be implemented so that the society will survive nicely. Okay. In the age of Satya, truthfulness, your four legs were established by the four principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that three of your legs were broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. That's what the last three words of this verse says. Smaya, Sangha, Madai. Smaya is pride, and then Sangha, Sangha refers to too much association with women, and then Madaihi means you become maddened, you become intoxicated. Okay. Become intoxicated, as a result you also become maddened. Okay. The deluding energy of material nature can act upon the living beings proportionately in terms of the living beings falling prey to the deluding attraction of Maya. So to the degree we are attracted to the Maya, to that degree we will be entangled, bewildered, caught up. Okay. Moths are captivated. It's a very nice analogy Prabhupada is speaking here. Moths are captivated by the glaring brightness of light, and thus they become prey to the fire. Similarly, the deluding energy is always captivating the conditioned souls to become prey to the fire of delusion. And the Vedic scriptures warn the conditioned souls not to become prey to delusion, but to get rid of it. Moth, just how it is, just completely, that fire is the death for it. It is bewildered, it just gets into the fire, seeing the glaring attraction of that. Similarly, we are also, maybe theoretically we may know this is bad, we should not do this, illicit sex is bad, gambling is bad, meat eating is bad, what else? Intoxication is bad. We may theoretically know, but because of the pull of the material energy, because of we don't have a resolute determination to follow the pure principles, we are just carried away. Very quickly we are just conditioned. So that's why Prabhupada says Vedic scriptures warn the conditioned souls not to become prey to delusion. Okay. So now carefully observe the answer. We are getting answers why we have to follow the four regulative principles. The Lord himself also warns that the deluding power of material energy is too powerful to overcome, but that one who completely surrenders unto the Lord can easily do so. Just the translation Prabhupada has put. But to surrender to the lotus feet, who have cultured, surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord is not very easy. You see, this is the point. Why it is not very easy? Such surrender is possible by persons who have cultured transcendental knowledge based on the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So you want to surrender to the Lord, then you need to have transcendental knowledge. And then here Prabhupada is giving another link that transcendental knowledge is based on the four principles of Dharma. So why four principles of Dharma is required? Can you think about it?
Because Krishna is completely pure.
Okay.
And if we want to reach him, we also have to become pure.
Okay, that's one way of looking at it. Huh?
4 pillars of Dharma.
There are 4 pillars of Dharma, so we need to follow the 4 pillars of Dharma. Okay.
Make us cultural. Make us cultural.
To make us cultural means?
Civilized.
Civilized means, yeah, you are coming close. What is the point? The 4 pillars of Dharma, what it does? Anuttam
Yes,
Brahma.
yes.
By human.
Means it
Can
helps
be a
in
human.
transcendental knowledge to acquire this transcendental
It
knowledge.
helps to transcend.
The modes.
Transcendental modes.
Okay. No, there's a straight, very, you see there's a direct link. Krishna also says in the Gita, why it is required. See here you see a very nice flow it goes. You see how Prabhupada puts it. He says, surrender is not so easy to the Lord. Why surrender is not so easy to the Lord? Why is one is surrendering, another fellow is not surrendering? Why? Why?
Because he doesn't have transcendental knowledge.
Okay, it's a good link. He does not have, why this fellow has transcendental knowledge, why that fellow does not have transcendental knowledge?
Which he doesn't understand.
Huh?
Because he does not follow the 4
Four regulative principles.
So what's the bottom line? What is the bottom line?
Free of sin.
This is the point. He is not free of sin. He is sinful. He is sinful. Time immemorial. Because of avidya, he has been engaged in sinful activities. And the sinful activities is a stumbling block to make progress. You understand? This is the whole link. You see, because of a sinful proclivity, he is lazy, he doesn't want to take up anything, so he is in ignorance. There is no transcendental knowledge. If there is no transcendental knowledge, you cannot come closer to Krishna. Because transcendental knowledge will help you to mold your mind and act in proper way. Your actions will be completely pure. And because of your pure active actions, you will come close to Krishna. Because by your pure actions, you will be purified. So I was expecting this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Esham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Not only one surrenders to the Lord, he becomes steady in the service of the Lord. Because the more he is purified, he gets the Shakti. You see, see how nicely Prabhupada is putting it. Okay, let's continue. Okay, now see this statement and a little bit contemplate about it. It's an amazing statement. Prabhupada says, Prabhupada is speaking about how there were Paramahamsas. No? Okay, I'll just read it. These 4 principles of advanced civilization were remarkable features in the age of Satya. In that age, practically every human being was a qualified Brahmana of the highest order. And in the spiritual orders of life, they were all Paramahamsas or the topmost men of the renounced order. By cultural standing, you said culture, yes, the culture was top class. How? Because they were pure in their practice. They were not committing any sin. The human beings were not at all subjected to the deluding energy. So you will say because they are free from the 3 moods. Now you see what Prabhupada says. Such strong men of character were competent enough to get away from the clutches of Maya. So this is the whole point. The whole point of hearing the transcendental message should mold ourselves to have spotless character. Spotless character means this: one is ready to perform austerities, one is ready to be merciful, one is ready to be pure, one is ready to be always truthful. This is spotless character. That's why Prabhupada many times, you'll challenge. You see our Europeans and American boys, and see the modern students of Kali Yuga. Big difference, because immediately by this process of chanting Hare Krishna and following the 4 regulative principles, one comes to the sattvic platform and above. He rises above that, right? So Prabhupada was directly this. Prabhupada said. So you remember there was a conversation with the mayor of one of the state in America. He said that our institution can offer solution. You don't have to easily. People can give up drugs. People can easily give up intoxication because by taking up to this higher knowledge and service, they will be purified. When there is purification of heart, immediately all these lower tendencies will be given up. Okay. So now what Prabhupada says. But gradually, as the basic principles of Brahminical culture, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness, became curtailed by proportionate development of pride, attachment for women and intoxication. So he says, how this is getting curtailed? Because one has become proud, and then there is attachment for women and intoxication. 3 things he says. That finishes everything. Madhu. 2 things. You've seen the link. Then we will see some more what Prabhupada says. With the progression of the age of Kali, people are becoming very proud, very much attached to women, and increasingly victimized by intoxication. By the influence of the age of Kali, even a pauper is proud of his penny. The women are always dressed in an overly attractive fashion to victimize the minds of men. Sometimes we see the rickshaw wala or the auto wala, he's just opening one big smartphone and then he's just speaking like a big person because everybody is doing it. He just wants to show that he is also great. Every Tom, Dick and Harry wants to show that they are great. People are very proud, yeah.
Penny.
Proud of his penny. Penny is actually, you know what, you have, it's a very less money. Proud of his penny, whatever money he has got, he just maybe he has some 100 rupees bank balance or whatever, but he is very proud, I am having this much money. Penny means it's like a currency. Okay, where are we? And women are always dressed in an overly attractive fashion to victimize the minds of men, and men are addicted to drinking wine, smoking, drinking tea, chewing tobacco, etc. So where there is madhu and madhu, where there is drinking and women, the four related principles, other principles will also be broken. Everything is very much interrelated. One will end up in gambling, one will end up in eating meat, one will be completely addicted to drugs. Drugs means everything, intoxication and everything. Okay. All these habits, so-called advancement of civilization, are the root causes of all irreligiosities. And therefore, it is not possible to check corruption, bribery, and nepotism. See how everything is interrelated. Breaking of the four related principles. Now, to acquire more and more sense gratification, you may end up doing anything. You will not see what is right, what is wrong, what should be followed, what should not be followed. No consideration, no discrimination. You are lost. You cannot check all these evils simply by statutory acts and police vigilance. You have to cure the disease of the mind by the proper medicine. That's very interesting. You may put so many laws, so many restrictions, but actually a person has to be purified. His mind has to be purified. That's why Prabhupada gives an example. Someone is sent to the jail, okay, for pickpocket. So he's in the jail for 6 months. He's beaten, he's given a good advice, and after 6 months he's released. And while coming back only, when he's just coming, he has to go to some other place, he boards the bus and then immediately hand goes and steals the money. So purification has to happen internally. That's the whole point. Okay. Well, the other rules and regulations will curtail, will want, but when person becomes more and more sane, the rules and regulations are not required for it. In the sense, automatically, there's no way a sadhu is going to commit any sinful activity. In the dream also he will not do, because he has been purified thoroughly. Okay. So what is the proper medicine? Namely, advocating the principles of Brahminical culture or the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness. You see, this is the thing actually, what ISKCON is doing, ISKCON is actually promoting, or the Vedic culture is actually promoting people to become pure. Purity means one has to rise to the level of a Brahmana. Specifically, the four principles makes a person very pure. The modern civilization based on economic development is creating a new situation of poverty and scarcity, with the result of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. If the leaders and the rich men of the society spend 50% of their accumulated wealth mercifully for the misled mass of people and educate them in God consciousness, the knowledge of the Bhagavatam, certainly the age of Kali will be defeated in its attempt to entrap and victimize the conditioned souls. What is this? Prabhupada is here giving a solution to the problems of Kali. What he says? Prabhupada says that just if sane people, wealthy people, intelligent people, if they can contribute to the propagation of this transcendental message, which will really help people to come to the proper consciousness, that is the solution that should be done. We must always remember that false pride or too high an estimation of one's own values of life. Are you getting this point here? Too high an estimation of one's own values of life. Huh? Did you read it before? Did you think about it? It will be very helpful when you read before. Too high an estimation of one's own values of life. Meaning, what does that mean? Now, let's say I have one, just giving you a simple, very, very gross example I'm giving you. Let's say I have a two-wheeler and I'm in a rented house. And somehow we are managing our houses. We are neither too poor nor middle income, we are lesser than middle income. But this fellow will come and project outside Like he has some 5 acres of land and he's owner of an estate, and in front of the opposite sex he will even tell you much more. There are some certain cases. There are some fellows who have actually impressed women by dressing very nicely. The dress will be very good, but already you may not have anything. There is no, the dress will not actually. The dress will only be, you might have rented it or you might have just have you may be having a dress, but he is not actually having any kind of assets. He is not rich or anything, but he will come and cheat. Many women get cheated and they get married, or some or other they come very too close and then later they realize that this fellow is a pauper. Okay, so this is what is Kali Yuga. So too high an estimation of one's own values of life, or on another hand, he does not have any good qualities. He is not having tolerance. He is not having patience. He is not simple, but he will pose himself like he is the greatest personality, the greatest pure soul that is in this planet. He will pose like that, just cheating, complete cheating. So that is what is too high an estimation of one's own values of life. Or these are all quite gross what I said. Or another thing is that you really think you are great. You really don't have good qualities, but you are completely in illusion thinking yourself to be great. So that's when spiritual master smashes our ego. Pure devotee smashes our ego. He just opens, hey, look, this is what you are. I am here to remove the mask. Don't worry. You are thinking you are looking at your mask, but see who you are. You are able to relate to what we are speaking. So too high an estimation of one's own values of life. Undue attachment to women or association with them. An intoxication of any kind will divert human civilization from the path of peace, however much the people clamor for peace in the world. Okay. So Prabhupada gives solution that the preaching of this Bhagavatam principle will make people purified both from inside and outside. That's all. And he says, you see here what Prabhupada says? That is the way of correcting the flaws of the human society, which are very prominently exhibited at the present moment. Which is the way? Which is the way you can correct the flaws in the human society? What is the way? Way out. Just now we read, the preaching of the Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men austere. Preaching of the Bhagavatam principles will help a person to come to the practice of the 4 pillars of religion. Right? Because he will understand, I cannot commit sin. If I commit sin, I will be more degraded, I will become more ignorant. And that will make the people think like that. Actually, we can see in the modern age, the more and more boys and many men are without any strength. They are like so weak. Sometimes they may have even strength means not only physical strength. As our Vivekananda, he says that strength means physical strength, but that's not actually real strength. Real strength lies in spiritual strength. That will be the ability to discriminate. Use your Viveka properly. By discriminating properly, you will get happiness. So, so this is the point here that this is what I just wanted to discuss. That sometimes we can see, man, there are so many modern youth, and they cannot put together a few words properly and speak. They have become so weak. They have so much close association with opposite sex. And in the prime age where you have to practice good brahmacharya, either you are going to enter the family life or you are going to remain as a celibate. Whatever it is, this training of brahmacharya will give you so much strength, good determination, good memory, confidence, being bold, able to take right decisions, being very thoughtful. All this training you get by practicing celibacy. This is a training, and with this basic training you can enter into the other ashrams. But in the modern day it's not happening. Why? Because too much of boys have become very weak, being exposed to all kinds of nonsense. At a young age you become very weak, you lose the vital energy of the body and you lose confidence. You can't take decisions. You are all the time, mind is just reeling here and there. So, but unless you take to this, as Prabhupada says, if you take to the process of the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam or the principles of the Bhagavatam, then the natural consequence will be you will be man of good character. That will happen. So we can see some other qualities which are very common in the modern age. Independent mentality, completely independent. I, me, my own way, my highway. Just not opposite to following Guru Sadhu Shastra. You don't want to follow Guru Sadhu Shastra. Then, when you are independent mentality, obviously whatever the authority says you will not follow. You will be independent. That's what this independent mentality is all about. I'm saying in both with respect to the not following the orders of the government, not following the orders of good people, and also same thing can be internally in an ashram also. Same kind of mentality can creep in. Then hypocrisy. That instead of being simple, straightforward, you will always achieve ends by saying one here and saying another thing there. And never you can never say anything straight. This is a disease for you. You will always try to twist and things like that. This is a typical influence of Kali. And then cooperation. That word doesn't exist in the dictionary. What is the word that you can find the meaning is? You can find the meaning for immediate, for any small thing you are too sensitive and you get anger like anything. That's what is happening in the modern day. No, you can see outside world for any small thing you become angry like anything and they fight like anything. I told you last time also, and during the lockdown I was going for a class for the small Gurukul boys. It took me some 2-3 minutes to cross one particular lane because there was a heavy fight. The water, they were standing in queue for water. At 11 o'clock, the water pipe opened and the water was flowing. People were catching, and one lady or one man put one bucket in between. That's all. There is a mini World War III that was happening there, and people were beating each other almost. And I just ran away. I had to go for class. But then you could see that immediate realization you get, okay, this is Kali Yuga. Just for a small, petty bucket of water, people are ready to kill themselves. If they are little patient that, okay, you are fighting, after fight you will die, then what's you cannot even use this water, okay? If they have little bit of common sense, but unfortunately they don't have common sense, that's a problem. Okay, let's move to the next verse. Now Parikshit is saying, you are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along, but quarrel personified, Kali, flourished by deceit, is also trying to destroy that leg. Now he's saying that, you are already struggling with one leg, and this is a leg also. This Kali wants to completely break, he wants to finish that also. Now let's see what Prabhupada is saying. The mass of people must be taught to practice these principles from childhood. Now based on the theme, so what are how to overcome the flaws of this modern civilization. Now we can see Prabhupada in his purpose giving the solution. So I just spoke to you about the theme of why to follow the four regulative principles, and another thing what I said, or what we said. What did we say? One is how to overcome four regulative principles, and then another one more thing I said. What was it? Just now also I said. Pay little attention. If you feel sleepy, stand up, do something about it.
Root cause of sin.
Yeah, root cause of sin we discussed. Then what is the next one?
Then
How to
teach Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, that is what. So finding you have identified the flaws, but now we are proposing a solution. How to overcome these flaws in the modern society. You can see the theme is being maintained. Prabhupada is coming with the purport like that. Okay. The mass of people must be taught to practice these principles from childhood. You see what Prabhupada is saying? If this is another theme also you will see here. Right from young age, this principle should be inculcated in the human society. Not that after you become 72, you wake up. Even then, holy name is so powerful. This bhakti process is so powerful. But what did you do from the age of 2? That also matters. Okay. Austerity means to accept voluntary things which may not be very comfortable for the body, but are conducive for spiritual realization. So this principle has to be inculcated right from the young age. Control of the senses, control of the mind. Okay. Fasting, for example, fasting twice or 4 times a month is a sort of austerity which may be voluntarily accepted for spiritual realization only, not for politics, not for some other plan, not for anything else. It should be performed for only one and one sole purpose. What is the purpose for which that fasting should be done? That austerity should be performed?
Spiritual realization.
Spiritual realization. Prabhupada says that. Fastings which are meant not for self-realization, but for some other purposes, are condemned in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride. What are the words? Ashastra vihitam goram tapyante tapojanaha dhamba ahankara sangyukta kamaraga bhalanvitaha kashyanta sharirastam bhutagramam acetasaha mam chaivanta sharirastam tan vidya asura nishchayan. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish and who torture the material elements of the body, as well as the super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. So this is one good definition for demons. Okay? So this is what it happens. In modern day what is happening is people are performing austerities for various other reasons. You can see just for acquiring name, fame, glory, people are performing austerity. In the sense they want to be part of the they want to be part of a big political campaign. So they are doing fasting, or they may some fellows may put kerosene on them and try to burn themselves. So many different kinds of the austerity they perform, or in the name of religion they die, thinking themselves that they are going to attain. They are going to dance with the virgins in the heaven. So many misconceptions. So Prabhupada is saying that such kind of austerity is useless. It should really be for the sole purpose of self-realization. Okay. I was just discussing with one of my friend. He is very much interested in following. He was also performing austerity, but he was very much interested in 3 packs, 2 packs, 5 packs, 7 packs. First I didn't know what are these packs. Then later I was trained into this transcendental knowledge, the bodybuilding, and there are this stomach region. He has packs and the arms and this and that. And for that he's so austere. You will eat like this much you will eat at 9 a.m. very little. And also only specific some sprouted fenugreek something you will take, and then after for next 6 hours complete break. So but then the whole why are you performing all these austerities? So that you will be hale and healthy and fit, so that you can completely focus on spiritual subject matter and perform Herculean task of Krishna. No, I don't want to get further details. He wants to impress someone else by his body's strength. So that was all foolishness. So that's the whole point. So people are interested somehow or other. This austerity also. So first of all, nobody wants to perform any austerity, and even if they want to perform austerity, that austerity is also for sense gratification. That's the whole point. Okay. Yet godless civilization cannot cleanse the mind because it has no idea of God. And for this simple reason, people under such a civilization cannot have good qualifications. However, they may be materially equipped. We have to see things by the resultant action. The resultant action of human civilization in the age of Kali is dissatisfaction. So everyone is anxious to get peace of mind. This peace of mind was complete in the Satya Yuga because of the existence of the above mentioned attributes of the human beings. Which above mentioned attributes? Do you remember? Yeah. Gradually these attributes are diminished in the Treta Yuga to 3/4, in the Dwapara to half, and in this age of Kali to 1/4, which is also gradually diminishing on account of prevailing untruthfulness. So this is the point. See in this verse Parikshit is speaking, this one you are standing on one leg, that one leg also has become very weakened. That you may lose that also. That's what Prabhupada is relating to here. Now again he is repeating this. By pride, either artificial or real, the resultant action of austerity is spoiled. Okay? By too much affection for female association, cleanliness is spoiled. By too much addiction to intoxication, mercy is spoiled. And by too much lying propaganda, truthfulness is spoiled. Nowadays there are people who can never speak truth. For anything and everything they'll just be lying and bluffing. And it's very unfortunate. The revival of the Bhagavata Dharma can save human civilization from falling prey to evils of all description. I heard it from one devotee, one interesting thing. There was one son of one meat eater. Okay, the boy was so intelligent. Very young boy, maybe there are some children with they have some security. One boy very boldly asked his father, how are you able to eat this meat? You can see this chicken is undergoing so much suffering. It is pain, it is crying. How are you able to eat this? His father was, he was in a drunkard state, he couldn't relate to it. But the boy got such a realization. And he could immediately relate and understand that there is something severely wrong here. This living being is undergoing suffering. So, but when you are completely in illusion, you can't see that. Oh, okay. One interesting point also, how this, with respect to speaking lies. So it's so important, right from a young age, we should develop this habit of. We already discussed. Probably I don't know. Ramprabhu will discuss. That is, as we read in the different instructions of Bhishma Dev, one instruction he very clearly says we should never tell lies. He says. So it might appear like it's such a simple principle. What is this? Because when you come to a study of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, it is the student of the scriptures is expected to know all these basic things. There is no question of discussion. You don't hate other, you don't beat other, you don't speak lies. These are all very preliminary discussions of human society. But he very specifically, Bhishma Dev says, you never not to speak a lie, just to remind part of these instructions. Because when you just start speaking lie, you defy the authority, you cheat, you don't have faith, you completely misrepresent the reality. And also we see in the current generation, many young students, young boys, they just speak lie, just like left, right and center. And when we were discussing with our devotee, how they could pick up this, it could be possible from bad friendship. There will be some friends who will always be speaking lies. For every small thing they will speak a lie. And he may see that and he will also pick up that quality. And sometimes they may pick that up from their parents. This is a little unfortunate. How? This is an interesting discussion. For example, the father is in the house. Okay, he gets a phone call. Okay, he gets a phone call. I don't have a phone with me. Okay, he looks at the number and he knows who is calling. Let's say if he has taken a loan. Okay, today is 6th of May. 6th May is up. He had already said that he will clear the debts on 5th May. Now he does not have money or whatever reason it could be. So what he will do, he will just sometimes give it to his son or the daughter. Tell that your father is not there. He is a small boy, 7-year-old boy, but he will be thinking, he's here. He's asking me to tell he's not there. He'll be wondering, how's that? Okay. Appa told father is not there. I understand, sorry, Tamil instead. The father told you that the father is not there, Children, innocent, And okay, it starts like that, and after that he also learns. He learns how to bluff. Yes, I'm just giving a small, typical example that is happening in the outside world. So, such an example has to be set by the teachers, by the parents, by the elders. We have to really try to lead a very honest life. Then that will be taken. So we need men of character. That is in fact what Srila Prabhupada wanted the Gurukula. We need students of character so that they will become men of character. And then everything will be so honest, straightforward. Dealings will be so sublime and like that. Okay. The burden of the earth was, next verse, 26. The burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints. Text 27. Now in this verse it's mentioned that now the mother Bhumi, she is in tears because it is being ruled by low class men. That's the whole point. Here Prabhupada is pointing out what is the problem again with the low class men ruling this earth. Unfortunately, in the age of Kali, the lower class men without training occupy the post of a ruler by strength of popular votes. And instead of protecting the sufferers, such men create a situation quite intolerable for everyone. Such rulers illegally gratify themselves at the cost of all comforts of the citizens. And thus the chaste mother, Earth Christ to see the pitiable condition of her sons, both men and animals. Just I'll give you an example. During the breakfast we were discussing. There was one party which is going to be which is going to come to power tomorrow. Even before they came to the power, they are famous for their atrocities. They have some gundas always in their camp, very famous for making atrocious activities. So there was an ex-chief minister. She started some kind of a hotel for very cheap. You can get idlis, dosas and other food for very very cheap, like 1 rupee, 5 rupees, 10 rupees. So there are so many hotels which are running in many places in Tamil Nadu. And immediately yesterday, what happened is few of the men, because it is from there that party lost the election. So this party men already they just broke some 3 or 4 of those small hotels and fast foods, whatever that they were running. Even before actually officially they came to power. It's just just to show we are such powerful. This is not run by our government. This is run by ex-government, useless government. And they want to just show. And they just broke already such a heavy violence and commotion happened in the city yesterday. That was a very hot news yesterday. Just as Prabhupada says, they just want to, they somehow or other get the votes and immediately they are, good morning, and we will show you a sample of our power. This is your sample of your power, break everything. And at least for that day, some 100 people or 200 people would have come for lunch or dinner, they lost it, whatever they had to eat. And Prabhupada is saying that this is what is happening in this modern age. Okay. And in the absence of suitable king to curb religious tendencies, educating the people systematically in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc. Again, Prabhupada is the same thing Prabhupada is maintaining. He is pointing out, see what is the problem, what are the flaws of the material world, modern life, and what is the solution that we can see. Okay. Okay. Text 28. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion on the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Now, there is a very interesting point Prabhupada makes in this purport. Can you please pay attention? This age of Kali will certainly be full of all activities of Kali. But this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and intelligent men are above all the devotees of the Lord. I'll read again. This age of Kali will certainly be full of activities of Kali. But this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and intelligent men are above all the devotees of the Lord should sit down tightly and become callous to the reactions of the age of Kali. What does the Prabhupada is trying to say here? Yeah, this is the point. So many things, so many bad things are happening. Things are in really bad shape, and then you just sit on the chair, drink 1 cup of tea, and then say it's all the effect of Kali. Can't do anything. Everything is very bad. Bad age. What can we do? So do something about it. If you are in the post, if you are in a position wherein you have to correct, just don't take money in this hand and put it in the pocket. Do something, change life, follow the dharma, establish dharmic principles. To establish this, Prabhupada gives a brilliant analogy. He says, in a rainy season, certainly there will be a profuse rainfalls. But that does not mean that men should not take means to protect themselves from the rains. When it is rainfall, or take an umbrella and then walk. Don't do something. Similarly, Prabhupada says, it is the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali or the persons influenced by the age of Kali. So again, Prabhupada is making one more point. The administrators should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruptional steps, but they must be ready with sharp words to kill the persons creating corruptions from the angle of vision of the recognized Shastra. This is the whole point, There are loopholes in the laws of the government, in the court. Always there are some loopholes, and then there are different lawyers who somehow or other win and rescue the actual culprit. But actually they should be punished heavily. As Prabhupada says in one of the lectures that in Kashmir how the thief whose hand is cut. Even now actually if you go to places like Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait and other places, if some mischievous activity is done, the punishment is very heavy. The person will be in public, his hand will be cut, or he will be Or sometimes if the vulnerability is very high, he will be cut. So people will be scared next time to do such an activity. Always that will be in the minds of the thief. So now you see, brilliant Prabhupada is here giving a very revolutionary solution. And if somebody will implement this, then there will be Vaikuntha on earth. What is that solution Prabhupada is giving? I'll read that. The administrators cannot prevent corrupt activities by allowing wine shops and at the same time making propaganda for people to stop drinking. They must at once close all the shops selling intoxicating drugs and wine and force punishment, even by death, for those who indulge in habits of intoxication of all description. So death sentence should be given for violent people, he is suggesting. That is a way of stopping the activities of Kali, as exhibited herein by Maharaj Parikshit, Maharatha. Sometimes, certain things can be gradually reduced. Certain things should be immediately, instantly it should be curtailed, instantly it should be cut off, instantly it should be stopped. Because that is going to create big poisonous effect in the society. So this is the point. Now, why we can see here, Parikshit was such a king, he was ready to, ready to immediately chastise. And what chastise? He already chastised. He was ready to almost kill. He's almost with a sword on his neck, almost going to cut. In that situation, he spoke these words. Tang jigangsam abhipretya vihaya nripalanchanam tat padamulam shirasa samagad bhayavigvalaha. When the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and under pressure of fear, completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. So this we can see here that Kali saw he has no hope. Parikshit is so powerful. So let me it's good for me at this point of time to give up all my stubbornness and my pride and everything. Give it up and just bow down and completely become subordinate. He threw his dress also. Just showing that he wants to be totally surrendered. Patitam padayor vira kripaya dhina vatsalah sharanyo navadi shlokya ahachedam asanhiva. Maharaj Parikshit, who was qualified to accept surrender and whose glories are worthy of being sung in history, did not kill the poor surrendered and fallen Kali, but smiled compassionately, for he was so kind to the poor. You see here, Prabhupada is pointing out that although he was about to kill Kali, he immediately, seeing the reaction of Kali, he thought, okay, we will spare. So he was compassionate, he was lenient. So is that all Parikshit was? We will see. Prabhupada what he says. He was smiling because the artificially dressed Kali had disclosed his identity as a lower class man. And he was thinking how ironic it was that although no one had ever been saved from a sharp sword when he decided to kill, the poor low class Kali was spared by his timely surrender. And that's what I was just trying to say, that one side he became he was very kind and compassionate, because this is the gentle principle. When somebody surrenders, that you just go on killing and beating someone. Somebody surrenders, you have to show compassion, but to what extent? This is the question. Now we will see the next verse. Nata gudakesha yashodharanam baddhanjale vai bhayamasti kinchit navartitavyam bhavata katanchana kshetre madiye tvamadharma bandhuhu. So he says that adharma bandhuhu, you are the friend of a religion. We have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you need not fear for your life. I am coming in Arjuna's parampara. You have surrendered, so I am not going to kill you. But what? You cannot remain in my kingdom, for you are the friend of the religion. So, which I just wrote 2 words. There, yet he showed lenience by not killing him. And then he showed his strictness by clearly telling him, hey, listen, There is no place for you in my place. I'm not going to allow you to stay here because you are on the side of irreligion. I'm not going to allow you. So here I just mentioned another two hints that he is considerate, at the same time he is courageous. So this is the quality of a leader. A leader should have both. He should be ready to face any situation. At the same time, when there is somebody completely comes and then surrenders, I made a big blunder because of whatever sin I have done, please. So then he will see how to help him. At the same time, he will not be able to keep him in the same vicinity. We will see what Parikshit does here. Oops. He wanted an ideal king like Maharaj Yudhishthira and his descendants like Maharaj Parikshit to rule the world, and therefore a responsible king like Maharaj Parikshit could not allow the friend of irreligiosity to flourish in his kingdom at the cost of the good fame of the Pandavas. So if he said, okay, he surrendered, he patted, and okay, from now on, don't worry, you will be. No, he didn't do that. He acknowledged his surrender, but at the same time, he wanted to uphold the dharmic principles. The dharmic principles being followed in the parampara of different great kings who have been in the parampara. So he was careful about it. That is the way of wiping out corruption in the state and not otherwise. The friends of irreligiosity should be banished from the state, and that will save the state from corruption. We discussed a similar point yesterday, right? In the previous class, how there were great kings, even though the son had done some corruption. Let's say, we saw the example of Lord Krishna himself, Indra being one of the great demigod. Krishna didn't spare. Many other kings who were righteous, they never spared it. Okay. So we should also be, not be in the name of strictness. It should not that we should just everybody like in the army, pass water in their pants and then if you don't follow something, you are in complete tension, and it should not be like that also. At the same time, everything is so loose. You can do whatever you want, fine, no problem. Okay, no problem, everything is fine, very good. Both are crazy things. There should be a clear balance between both the things, and to see that the dharmic principles are followed, we have to. The leader has to have a clear balance of consideration and strictness, compassion and courage. Both has to be managed. Is it clear? Can you continue? Okay. In the personality of Kali, irreligion is allowed to act as a man god or an executive head. Suddenly, irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, robbery, incivility, treachery, misfortune, cheating, quarrel and vanity will abound. Prabhupada says, okay, here Prabhupada is discussing an amazing principle. Please pay attention. The principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness, as we have already discussed, may be followed by the follower of any faith. There is no need to turn from Hindu to Mohammedan, or from Mohammedan to Christian, or to some other faith, and thus become a renegade and not follow the principles of religion. What does a renegade mean? Renegade is something like a traitor. So long you have been in this camp, and tomorrow morning, you betray your own members, and then you go to some other party or some other team. And then you can see that in the religion many times it has happened, right? And then you see for the death of Jesus, the same the person from his own camp, he did the mess, right? So that's what it is. So it's not that Prabhupada is making a propaganda that now we will convert all the Muslims, all the Christians, all the Jews, all the things. Prabhupada wanted to bring everyone under one single banner. That is the banner of Krishna consciousness, where everybody is the eternal servant of the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying that we are not here speaking about conversion. There is one particular religion which is very much interested in converting everyone in this world. And they are doing their job in whatever best way possible, by giving money, by getting job, by curing diseases, by getting posts, so many things they do. So in that way they want to increase the number of followers of their faith. But see what Prabhupada is going to say here. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. So this is the whole point. You follow principles of religion, it doesn't matter you are belonging to which faith. As long as you follow the principles of religion, you're fine. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. It's an interesting point, right? Not dogmas or regulative principles of certain faith. The principles of religion is common for everyone. Sun is sun, whether it is in France, it is in Australia, it is in Japan, it is in any part of Europe, it is in India, it is in any part, it is sun. It is called by different names in different places. Huh? Right? In Bengali, what do you call sun as? Surjo. In Tamil, we call Suryan. In Nepali, Surya. And Solse, I think it's in French or Italian, I don't know. So in different languages, you call it by different name, but the same sun. Similarly, God is only one and religion is only one. There is no two gods and there is no two religion. There is only one religion. So that religion is based on the principles that it has laid. So that's the point. The Bhagavatam religion urges following the principles of religion. The principles of religion are not the dogmas or regulative principles of a certain faith. Such regulative principles may be different in terms of the time and place concerned. So according to certain time and place, it may be different. So one has to see whether the aims of religion have been achieved. So what are the main principles of religion?
4 regulative principles to be followed.
So principles of religion, you say, regulative principles you are saying. What are the principles to be followed?
Truthfulness.
That's the whole point. Truthfulness, austerity, mercy and cleanliness. So to the degree you follow this, to that degree you come close to God. This is the whole simple philosophy. So it is a question of what is the conversion that has to happen. The conversion has to be from not being a servant of God, you have to be converted to being servant of God. Our propaganda here is not, now we will convert him from Buddhism to Hinduism, from Hinduism to Christianity to Jewism or any ism. No, that's not our aim. Our aim is to not being the servant of God, not being merciful, not being austere, not being truthful, not being clean, to become clean, austere, faithful, truthful, compassionate. These are the things that we are promoting. Because when you follow all these principles, naturally you will be a lover of God. In fact, only a lover of God will be able to have all these principles. Right? But in the age of Kali, the executive heads of state will be indifferent to such religious principles, and therefore, under their patronage, the opponents of religious principles such as greed, falsehood, cheating and pilfery will naturally follow. And so there will be no meaning to propaganda crying to stop corruption in the state. So this is the problem. The states are not going to follow all these things. They are going to just allow all this bad principles which Prabhupada discussed before, the being proud, being too much association with women, and then what else Prabhupada said? Then this cheating, all these things, it will flourish. Okay, this example I discussed about this Abdullah was Prabhupada speaking that now the culture is also gone. That we also discussed. Okay. So now that is why you see that is the most important principle in the in our movement, or if you have to be called a theist or a human being, you have to follow this 4 regulative principles. So what would be a simple answer you will give? Why you have to follow 4 regulative principles? We already Prabhupada gave so many different answers. Another simple answer, anything you can think of? Why we are requesting people to follow the 4 regulative principles? A very simple answer.
To become free from sin.
To become human, to become free from sin. Yes, because the moment you break the 4 regulative principle, then you are engaged in sinful activities. By sinful activities, you will become more and more ignorant. Again, by becoming more and more ignorant, you will again engage in further sinful activities. Then the cyclic chain will continue, and then you will no more be human. You will be again an animal. So now you can say, I am a human, but you are human, but you are doing activities not even like that of an animal, because animal also does not do such kind of an activity. Even certain animals have certain time period, and only at that time it conjugates, it coopulates, it comes in relationship. But humans, indiscriminately, no timing, nothing. So Guru Maharaj in one of the classes was explaining that this bestial mentality is very bad, and they said, actually it is kind of little offense to say bestial mentality, because even the beasts are a little better in certain situations, he said. They will understand. So this is the situation. Okay. Now let's see what further Parikshit is saying. Therefore, O friend of irreligion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to truth and religious principles for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he says, you are completely being friend of irreligion, you will be associating with, how can how can I allow you to come and then be in this place where all great personalities are engaged in wonderful sacrifices. In other words, sacrifice means to accept the supremacy of the Lord and thereby perform acts by which the Lord may be satisfied in all respects. Amazing definition of Prabhupada gives here. See, sacrifice means immediately what comes to our mind. Please think.
Sacrifice what we possess.
You are a really amazing person. So you are able to give an answer. Whatever we possess, we sacrifice. Yeah, that's true. That's all true. Generally, when you say sacrifice, what do you think?
Putting in.
That's the whole point. Putting ghee in the fire, swaha, swaha, immediately that's what you think. But here Prabhupada is pointing out that sacrifice just doesn't mean that putting ghee in the fire. But as you said, sacrificing whatever that we have, to whom? Not to the cinema actor or actress, but to the Supreme Personality of God. So many people are making so many sacrifices. So many fans of film stars, sportsmen, industrialists, leaders, they're all doing sacrifice. But sacrifice for what? When? How? That's required. So nicely Prabhupada is saying here. In other words, sacrifice means to accept the supremacy of the Lord and thereby perform acts by which the Lord may be satisfied in all respects. That's a sacrifice, right? If you see that according to the definition of austerity by Lord Rishabhadev, what he says, Nayam deho dehabhajam loke kashtan kaman arhate vidbujamye tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam sudhye yasmad brahma saukyam tamanantam. He says, what is the point of leading life like that of a stool-eating dog or a pig or any other animal for that matter? Because that this whatever food you are looking for is easily available. But human life is meant for performing tapasya. Because by tapasya, very definition Prabhupada says in the purport, tapasya means voluntarily you accept some difficulties. For what? For purification, sacrifice. Oh, such a nice mango. I would like to taste it and enjoy it. But a devotee knows, okay, for a pure devotee there is no such, he will never have such a conception. Pure devotee I am speaking about. Why? Because when he sees mangoes, he says, we should make some special preparation for the Lord. That's how his mind works. But a devotee who is not at that level, mango, very nice. But he has learned, he is reading, he is studying, he is associating with devotees. But I cannot enjoy it. I have to offer it to Krishna. It has to be offered to Krishna. This is next level. Okay? I have to offer it to Krishna. Okay. He will not contemplate on it. So it is a sacrifice he is making. Are you able to understand? He's making sacrifices. He's making, and Krishna is pleased by that. He's controlling. So no, I should not touch it. First Krishna should enjoy, then his remnants I will take. That's the sacrifice. So Prabhupada says that the Lord will be pleased by that. So one has to engage in that sacrifice. Okay. The atheists do not believe in the existence of God, and so they do not perform any sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord. You can see sometimes, there are so many people who are making so many different preparations. They are very big expert cooks, and you can see in this cook programs, they will just show how to perform particular recipe and everything. All the preparations will be almost over. Everything is going, and then in the middle saying, and then after that, you just allow it to a little bit cool down, and then you just put this coriander leaves, just nicely decorate, and then your preparation is ready. And then he just takes the preparation, put it in his mouth. Yummy! It's very tasty. Try it. This is how they look at it. Everything is for their enjoyment. So that's the problem. Okay. Let's now continue what Prabhupada further says. The atheists do not believe in the existence of God, and so they do not perform any sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord. Any place or country where the supremacy of the Lord is accepted and thus sacrifice is performed is called Brahmavarta. Because this word is used here. Brahmavarte yatra yajanti yajnairhi. Okay. There are different countries in different parts of the world, and each and every country may have different types of sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord. But the central point in pleasing him is ascertained in the Bhagavatam, and it is truthfulness. The basic principle of religion is truthfulness, and the ultimate goal of all religions is to satisfy the Lord. In this age of Kali, the greatest common formula of sacrifice is the Sankirtana Yajna. So Prabhupada discussed about the glory of Sankirtana Yajna, and he says that the best way to drive away Kali's influence is performing the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the best way to drive away the influence of Kali. Okay, text 34. Yasmin Harir Bhagavan Ijyamana Ijyatma Murtir Yajatam Shantanoti Kaman Amogan Stira Jangamanam Antar Bahir Vayur Ivaisha Atma. And then in all sacrificial ceremonies, although sometimes the demigod is worshipped, the Supreme Lord Personality of God is worshipped because he is the super soul of everyone and exists both inside and outside. So here is speaking about the importance of pleasing the Supreme Lord, not the demigods. Okay, we will see this particular portion of the purport, what Prabhupada says. The fact is that the Supreme Lord is one without a second. There is no God other than the Lord himself. But there are many who worship the demigods like the sun, moon, Indra, who are only material representatives of the Supreme Lord. These demigods are indirect qualitative representations of the Supreme Lord. A learned scholar or devotee, however, knows who is who. Therefore, he directly worships the Supreme Lord and is not divided by the material qualitative representations, which we have heard this many times. That worshipping Krishna directly is the best process, because Krishna himself suggests that there is no need to worship any other demigods individually. Because by watering the root, what happens?
Everyone is satisfied. All the trees.
One tree we will take. In one tree, the branches, the leaves, the flowers, the twigs, everything is satisfied. And also all the trees, all the roots. 14, all the roots. Okay. Let's continue text 35. The personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Parikshit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj, ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows. I'm going to text 36. Kali Ruvacha Yatra Kvavadavatyami Sarvabhaumat Tavagnaya Lakshaye Tatra Tatrapi Tvam Ateshu Sharasanam. Now is very interesting. He says, "O your majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look." He says that he says directly, I may go into any other place, but everywhere your followers are there, they are as good as you. So let's say Parikshit is in one particular place, he is ruling in one particular place, the entire Bharatavarsha is under his regime. The followers are as good as Parikshit, so they will not allow him anywhere. So he says, as well, you kill me here, I can die here. He said, let me be. If you send me somewhere else, they are also the same. I'm going to die by someone else here. Let me die here. Only you only take care of me, because your people are like that. Everywhere you are having such representatives. Okay, let's see what Prabhupada here says. It was best, so he says that the personality of Kali was meant for mischief, and Maharaj Parikshit was meant for subduing all kinds of mischief mongers, especially the personality of Kali. Okay, this is the line before that. You see, Prabhupada says, all lands were over the world and everything belongs to Parikshit, and thus anywhere he might live, he would have to meet the same mood of the king. So this is the point, because everyone has the same mood, same whatever Parikshit standard he has set, everybody is following the same thing. So that's why it will be very nice, no? If we follow, like Prabhupada has given us the teachings, perfect pure teachings, if all the ISKCON centers around the world, if that's what I mean. Generally, you see, wherever we go, general pattern is followed. Now we already had Mangalarti. Then Mangalarti is going on in some other place in Europe. In some other place, Bhagavatam class is going on. It's everywhere. So sometimes there was one donor. He went. I was just amazed, sir. Same program, same Arati, devotees are going in Harinam, and there is all schedule, everything is going on Pakka. Whatever that he first time went to UK, and he also went to a few other places, okay, from India. So he was a little amazed to see that there is a similar pattern program was going on, classes, question answers, Kirtan, Prasadam. So he was a little stunned. I said, it's all glories to Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was the visionary. But set a program in such a way that people can come and associate with devotees and then get purified and worship the deities. Everything happens. So that should be maintained. That should be the thing. So when everything is maintained like that, who cannot enter?
Kali cannot
Kali cannot enter. Kali representatives cannot enter. The moment we reduce the standard, Kali will rightly sit, and then we will throw away from our position wherever we are. So he says it was better therefore for the personality of Kali to have been killed by the king then and there instead of being killed elsewhere. He was after all a surrendered soul before the king, and it was for the king to do what was required. Okay. Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Okay, now we will come into the last phase of this chapter, wherein Maharaj Parikshit gives Kali permission to dwell in 5 places. So he requested to please give me place so that I can stay somewhere. So Maharaj Parikshit is going to give him 5 places. We will see here: gambling, drinking, prostitution, animal slaughter, and wherever gold is hoarded. Jain, Brahmanas and Sannyasis should never come in contact with such places. After Maharaj Parikshit sends Kali away, he re-establishes his religion and begins his reign. So that's what we are going to discuss in the upcoming verses. Now let's see what Sutta Goswami says. Sutta Uvacha Abhyartitastada Tasmai Sthanani Kalaye Dhadau Dhyutam Panam Striya Suna Yatra Dharmas Chaturvidah. I think many of you know this verse, an important verse to learn. Well, at the end of the day, I will just give you the divisions with this chapter and the previous chapter, and also give you the important verses. Okay, this is an important verse for sure. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. The basic principles of religiosity, such as pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the 4 principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So Kali was given the permission to stay in one of these places. Okay, Prabhupada here discusses about Shautramani Yajna, so we will read about that. Srila Jiva Goswami directs that drinking against such scriptural principles as those which govern the Shautramani Yajna, association with women outside marriage, and killing animals against the injunction of scriptures, are irreligious. In the Vedas, 2 different types of injunctions are there. One type for the pravritas, or those who are engaged in material enjoyment, and another type for nivritas, or those who are engaged in becoming liberated from material bondage. The Vedic injunction for the pravritas is to gradually regulate their activities toward the path of liberation. Therefore, for those who are in the lowest type of ignorance and who indulge in wine, women, and flesh, drinking by performing Sautramani Yajna, association of women by marriage, and flesh eating by sacrifices, and sometimes are sometimes recommended. Such recommendations in the Vedic literature are meant for a particular class of men and not for all. So this has to be understood very clearly. Prabhuji, we are allowed to do this. There is this concession, that concession. That is not a general concession for all the human beings. So we should see. I already discussed with you the other last class that general tendency of human beings is to, you give some choice, they will try to take the most easy choice. Whatever is the most easiest path, that's what we will take. So we can see here in the Vedas, different cadre of people are taken care, or they are served. People in different cadre, different levels are served in different ways. So someone who is attached very much to the lower modes, so to purify him, the lower standards are given for them. It is for them, and we should not go for that lower standards. This is the Jivan rule. You are following. We should not go to the lower standards. We should just take up the higher standard. Now let's see. No, I'm just saying that not to put the hand like this. Okay. Now let's further say what Prabhupada continues. Srila Jiva Goswami therefore affirms that one man's food may be poison for others. Similarly, what is recommended for those in the mode of ignorance may be poison for those in the mode of goodness. Right? Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu therefore affirms that recommendations in the scriptures for a certain class of men are never to be considered adharma or irreligious, but such activities are factually adharma and they are never to be encouraged. The recommendations in the scriptures are not meant for encouragement for such adharma, but for regulating the necessary adharma gradually toward the path of dharma. Yes, so someone is allowed once a month to eat some meat from the dead body of a cow or dead body, or following that on the Amavasya day, speaking to the Mamsa and all those things, he is allowed. But that is a very on a lower level an injunction is given. No, you don't go and then that is for a person who is already lower consciousness. No, you don't degrade yourself down. You understand? This is the point here Prabhupada is making. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness are established in the state, and that the principles of irreligion, namely pride, illicit female association or prostitution, intoxication, falsity are checked by all means. And to make the best use of a bad bargain, the personality of Kali may be transferred to places of gambling, drinking, prostitution and animal slaughter. If there are any places like that, those who are addicted to these irreligious habits may be regulated by the injunctions of the scripture. In no circumstances should such habits be encouraged by any state. In other words, the state should categorically stop all sorts of gambling, drinking, prostitution and falsity. Now come the cream of purport by Prabhupada, who gives a solution for this time, how to implement these regulative principles. Okay, we'll read this. 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more. Even from the economic point of view, such 2 fasting days in a month in the state will save tons of food, and the system will also act very favorably on the general health of citizens. Sometimes, okay, I'll just tell you on practical things. If you go to the Madhva Mats, what they will do, they'll put a big lock on the godown on the day of Ekadasi. It will be locked. So most of them, maybe they drink water. Some of them they do nirjal. Many they do nirjal. They are trained like that from young age. They do nirjal. Sometimes they will drink water. Sometimes somebody may take some fruits, but very rare to see. Nowadays I do not know, but this was the thing. So you may go, oh, what is that to eat? Big lock. The prasadam is locked. This thing, everything is locked. It is like that. Okay. So if you think of, so much money could be saved, or so much tons of food can be saved, 2 days in a month. There must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age and 16 years of age, respectively. There is no harm in co-education in the schools and colleges, provided boys and girls are duly married, and in case there is any intimate connection between a male and female student. Okay, this is one I just remember. This is a little bit side topic, side point. I just came to my mind. One time, one person wanted to join the Brahmachari ashram. So then one of the father, I don't know from how, so many instructions are there of Prabhupada, and he left everything and he said, see what is said here. There must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age. How can he join the ashram? Shouting up and down. And then one devotee was, showing different quotes from Brahmacharya book. And anyway, father and mother, they can never accept that. But anyway, so the point here is being discussed, the point that is being discussed here is that when such an arrangement is made nicely, that at the right time the marriage is arranged, and in that way, illicit relation and all bad things could be avoided. The Divorce Act is encouraging prostitution, and this should be abolished. The citizens of the state must be given charity at least 50% of their income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in human society, both individually and collectively. The principles of the Bhagavatam should be preached, namely Karma Yoga, or doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. See how Prabhupada is translating Karma Yoga as doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. A regular hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam from authorized persons or realized souls, chanting of the glories of the Lord congregationally at home or at place of worship, rendering all kinds of service to Bhagavatas engaged in preaching Srimad Bhagavatam, and residing in a place where the atmosphere is saturated with God consciousness. If the state is regulated by the above process, naturally there will be God consciousness everywhere. What Prabhupada is trying to say here? What is it that you are seeing here? What Prabhupada is promoting? Yes, he is speaking about the 5 potent forms of worship, devotional service. So he said, yeah, introduce that. Gambling of all description, even speculative business enterprise, is considered to be degrading, and when gambling is encouraged in the state, there is a complete disappearance of truthfulness. Allowing young boys and girls to remain unmarried past the above mentioned ages and licensing animal slaughterhouses of all description should be at once prohibited. The flesh eaters may be allowed to make flesh as mentioned in the scriptures, not otherwise. So that means you cannot have slaughterhouses. Intoxication of all description, even smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco and drinking tea must be prohibited. So this is a very amazing, important purpose. We should regularly preach this among the masses. And it's also good for us to know how to lead the society. The personality of Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, lust, envy and enmity. Maharaj Parikshit thus gave him permission to live in a place where there is gold. Why? Because there is hardly you can find any place in Parikshit's reign where the 4 regulative principles are broken. Right? Maharaj Parikshit thus gave him permission to, According to the Srimad Bhagavatam, gold encourages falsity, intoxication, prostitution, envy and enmity. Even a gold standard exchange and currency is bad. Gold standard currency is based on falsehood because the currency is not on par with the reserved gold. The basic principle is falsity because currency notes are issued in value beyond that of the actual reserved gold. And you all know about this philosophy, right? That either currency, golden currency or currencies that is being produced in a country, it should be proportionate to what is the actual assets that the country possesses. You cannot just have currency more than, you can just print so many, but that's what is happening. That's what is become the black market and so many nonsense things that happens in this world. So that's why real asset is the land, cows and actual gold that you are having. That is what is the real asset. All this currency and other things are cheating. Instead of paper currency, actual gold coin should be used for exchange, and this will stop the prostitution of gold. Gold ornaments for women may be allowed by control, not by quality but by quantity. So the Vedic culture, women were wearing golden ornaments when they will come in front of the Lord, worship of the Lord, and they were performing yajnas. They were, but it was sole purpose of it was to not to show their beauty or the greatness, but to be part of the festival or the function that is happening, just to show, to please the Lord. That was actually aim of all these golden ornaments. But now it is all topsy-turvy in Kali. This will discourage lust, envy and enmity. What will discourage lust, envy and enmity? Gold ornaments for women may be allowed, not by but by quantity. If you are just too much accumulating. Anyway, this is a Vedic principle. Atyahara prayasascha. If you accumulate more, anything, it's a problem, and gold, maha problem. Okay. When there is actual gold currency in the form of coins, the influence of gold in producing falsity, prostitution, etc. will automatically cease. And you know what to speak of that? When the deities are in gold, the pujari will even run with the deities. So you see in ISKCON we don't have big golden ornaments and all these things. All this we are having. Sometimes some silver ornaments, some things are there, but generally Prabhupada was not allowing that to happen. There will be no need of an anti-corruption ministry for another. Prabhupada is here making a nice statement. There is no need to have an anti-corruption ministry for another term of prostitution and false of purpose. So if this is nicely maintained, there is no need of an anti-corruption ministry. Everything will fall in place. So now after establishing this, Parikshit helped the cow and bull to reinstate in its normal position, and he allowed, and he saw that the people in his age were able to or were following all the principles purely, and they were fixed in the principles of dharma, and his kingdom further flourished. Parikshit's kingdom flourished. But text 41. Ahaitanina sevat seveta bubushu purushak kvachit Visheshato dharma shilo rajalokapatir guruhu. Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the four above mentioned irreligious principles. So, how will you choose a leader? What is the first thing you will see? Okay, you are a board of your panel. You are going to recruit some people for various sevas in the temple. And there are some different projects that is happening, construction is happening, this is happening. So, what is the first thing that you will see in the person? Or let's say construction is really difficult to say. Let's say you are going to take some men in the ashram, or for the well-being of the society, you are going to recruit men. So, what are the characters you will see?
Is it truthful?
Okay.
Honest.
Okay. Yeah, the answer is there right in this verse. Why are you thinking? Whenever I ask a question, please relate to the verse.
Religious principles.
Yeah, you have to first of all see whether the four religious principles are there. Because that makes a person very pure. That's what we will see. That's what. So, whether you are going to put someone as a leader, what you will see the quality? First of all, is he good in his sadhana? Good in his sadhana means is he pure? Pure means how we grade the purity? Is he attending all the programs? Is he a leader in Shravanam and Kirtanam? Does he follow the principles, regulatory principles? All these things we see that because immediately it puts a person in a proper standing. Skills, next thing. Somebody might have done MBBS, MTech, take big degrees he will have. But what is the quality? Smoker, drinker. Okay, we don't need it. But rather a person may be illiterate. Nothing, he may not know anything, but very pure. Krishna is pleased. So that's the criteria. Okay? So here see from in this another theme that here Bhagavatam is teaching us how to select a leader, what should be the qualities. If a Brahmana is not truthful, all his claims as a Brahmana at once becomes null and void. If a sannyasi is illicitly connected with women, all his claims as a sannyasi at once becomes false. Similarly, if the king and the public leader are unnecessarily proud or habituated to drinking and smoking, certainly they become disqualified to such public welfare activities. Truthfulness is the basic principle for all religions. The four leaders of the human society, namely the sannyasi, the Brahmana, the king and the public leader, must be tested crucially by their character and qualification. This should be the test, character and qualification. First comes the character. Whether he has got a good character, whether he is qualified, is he bold, is he straightforward, is he clear, does he know the Shastras? First see how pure he is, then he has the skill set also. That is also required, but the primary focus is on character. So one may be, there are also how skill set is also required, I am just saying you. One may be very pure, very good, but let's say you want to put someone as a head cook, but he doesn't even know how to cut the vegetables. How can you put him as a head cook? I'm just giving an example. But he may be pure. At the same time, one may be very expert. He can cook thousands of items, everything, but after cooking every item, he just goes and drinks one bottle of beer to get some energy. What will you do with such a cook? You see, that's why there is a match of purity, that is character, and skills. Character being the predominant quality that is required. That's how you choose a leader, right? Is it clear to you? Follow. Before one can be accepted as spiritual or material master of society, he must be tested by the above mentioned criteria of character. Such public leaders may be less qualified in academic qualifications, but it is necessary primarily that they be free from the contamination of the four disqualifications. This we already discussed, namely gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. Okay. Now, in this particular verse, Parikshit is saying that, Sutra Goswami is saying, therefore the king re-established the last legs of the personality of religion, and by encouraging activities, he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth. So that's what we already discussed. So he took care of all these things. He saw that the four related principles are followed, and Kali was kept at bay. He was not able to really enter into the kingdom. He was in the outskirts. So in that way, he gave a proper place to Kali. He corrected the situation of the cow and the bull, and he also saw the condition of the kingdom also was strong. And for the general benefit of the people of the world, he saw that the gold stock might be employed for stabilization. This is very interesting. So he saw, when he realized that, okay, now I have given such a vow, now unnecessary gold, I will collect everything, I will use it for yajna. Gold is certainly a generator of falsity, intoxication, prostitution, enmity and violence. But under the guidance of a proper king or public leader or a brahmana or a sannyasi, the same gold can be properly utilized to re-establish the lost legs of the bull, the personality of religion. So if gold is given to us, what do? We change gold into stones for building Krishna's temple. So like that, the gold can be used very effectively in Krishna's service. Otherwise, you are finished. That's why we can also, really it's true, many of the practicing devotees, more money they accumulate, they are going to have tough time because this money is going to kill them. Hard-earned money, one should be ready to sacrifice for Krishna. Not so easy. Attachment is there. If I give this, then my balance will reduce. So everything will be very calculative. Calculate. They give some 5,000 rupees for Krishna, for wherein you may have a good bank balance of 5 crores. 5,000 I will give for Krishna. No? One big donor, he's been pumping up so much for the last 1 year. I'm going to give donation. He has so much money he has got, but he just ended up giving just on lakh of rupees. 1 lakh is nothing for it. But he doesn't know that more the money I'm accumulating with him, we are not cursing him. I'm just speaking from Bhagavatam. More money is keeping it without using it in Krishna's service. It's a big danger for him because Kali is sitting there. Correct? As we have suggested before, one's accumulated wealth may be divided into three parts for distribution, namely 50% for the service of the Lord, 25% for the family members, and 25% for family necessities, so for emergency. Spending 50% for the service of the Lord or the propagation of spiritual knowledge in society by way of the Sankirtana Yajna is the maximum display of human mercy. There are so many who are following the principle. Future, if when we are in some different situation, we will give 50% to Krishna. It's a challenge, it's a question. But there are some devotees who are doing that. Very sincere. Seriously taking up the mission of what Prabhupada has requested and they are doing it. At least whatever best we can, we should do. Okay? We should think, I should give 50%. Okay, I should give 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%, 5%. Do something for Krishna. Keep that as a goal. Then more you desire to give for Krishna, things will... Well, in Kali, modern day, it's more difficult. You know, person's salary is some 15,000 rupees. How will you give 50% to Krishna? The house rent only is 5,000 rupees. Another 5,000 gone. You have only 10,000 rupees. Then with 10,000 rupees, you have 2 children, wife, a medical emergency, so many things you have to take care. Difficult, right? So whatever best, but still you should give. You should put something aside. This is Krishna's money. Well, that money, from that money, should give quite some amount to temple service. Then some money you reserve also. Maybe you may have to go for yatra. You may have to buy some spiritual books. You may something. You may in one sense it is for your own expense only, but you are specifically spending for Krishna. I know one of my relatives. Whenever they receive the salary, they have an hundi. They will just from the salary, they immediately put 1,000 rupees in that hundi. And then what they will do after 15 days, 17th or 18th day, there will be shortage of money. I will go and then get some loan. So they will go and then open the hundi box. They will take some money, spend money, and then mother will keep note of, last month I took 1,000 and this month. So sometimes there will be heavy shortage. And then after that, they will have, again some extra money will come. First thing what I will do is I will again put back in the hundi this money. And then they will go to, after some 8 months or 10 months, they will go to Tirupati. And all the money, whatever they have, they will just go and give it to Balaji. I mean, by some piety was followed before, right? Now, where there is no puja room only in the house, right? Now, well, then we go to some Graha Pravesham somewhere, modern people who are not devotees of the Lord. Oh, this is our dining room, this is our hall, this is our kitchen, this is our extended balcony, this is the room for playing kids, this and that. Okay, there is one person called, that Bhagavan, where is the room for him? Well, I have one small, microscopic shelf where kitchen is in the heart. God is in the heart. Okay, very nice. This is the modern day problem actually. Then you suffer being like a bird which is struggling in the nest like that. You have a big building in big cities and you are suffering in your life. Okay, we are coming to almost the completion of the part. But people of the world are generally in darkness regarding spiritual knowledge, especially in regard to the devotional service of the Lord, and therefore to propagate the systematic transcendental knowledge of devotional service is the greatest mercy that one can show in this world. What is the greatest mercy one can show in this world? Systematic propagation of transcendental knowledge. What Abhay Chanar, what do you want to say? By Sankirtan, okay. When everyone is taught to sacrifice 50% of his accumulated gold for the Lord's service, certainly austerity, cleanliness and mercy automatically ensue, and thus the 3 lost legs of the personality of religion are automatically established. So how do you establish the 3 lost legs? Prabhupada is saying 50% gold you give back to the Lord. So how much gold everyone of us are having? You are not having anything. Those who are having, they should give. Actually, one interesting thing I will just share. When sometimes when we are in this side, okay, and we are this side of the this side of the land, we just point out that you should give for Krishna, this and that. But then a situation happens when you are on this side and you go to the other side, and then I know some of the so-called practicing devotee, he spoke so much, this devotee is not doing anything, he's not doing that thing, and when he went, what are you doing? You're doing the same thing. You forgot, at least he was doing something, you're doing nothing. Okay? So Maya is like this, it completely tricks you. So we have to take these principles to our heart, we should understand. We should also encourage people as much, whatever they can. We should encourage them and we should inspire them to give more. And to give more. To giving more to whom? To me? No, to Krishna. You give more to Krishna, you will be so happy. And of course, we should also not motivate them like, okay, you give for Krishna, then you see everything multiplies. Well, that also happens. There was one devotee in Russia. He was in the business flourished like anything. He was giving 50% of the whatever profit he was getting. Same principle he was following 50%. Then his business flourished. Then next time they even gave more. I don't know what happened now, but really it went on like that. But we should not promote such kind of ideas. You give for Krishna, just give for Krishna. Krishna will be pleased and you will be happy. That we should promote. And in that way, Kali is kept at bay. Now, further the verse says that so Parikshit was very after this entire episode. He maintained the kingdom very nicely. Everything was prosperous, and he upheld what Yudhishthira Maharaj had done, and his previous kings had done. He upheld. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada is addressing a nice point, which is worth making note of. The principles of Maharaj Parikshit can be still continued, and human society can still be improved if there is determination by the authorities. We can still purge out from the state all the activities of immorality introduced by the personality of Kali if we are determined to take action like Maharaj Parikshit. He allotted some place for Kali, but in fact Kali could not find such place in the world at all because Maharaj Parikshit was strictly vigilant to see that there were no places for gambling and other activities. Modern administrators want to banish corruption from the state, but fools that they do not know how to do it. They want to issue licenses for gambling houses, shops, selling wine and other intoxicants, brothels, prostitution hotels, and cinema houses, and they allow falsity in all dealings, even their own, and at the same time they want to drive out corruption from the state. They want the kingdom of God without God consciousness. How can it be possible to adjust two contradictory matters? If we want to drive out corruption from the state, we must first of all organize society to accept the principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness. And to make the condition favorable, we must close all, see this again, second time Prabhupada is saying, what is to be done? You must close all places of gambling, drinking, prostitution and falsity. These are some of the practical lessons from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Maharaj Parikshit, the son, verse 45, the son of Abhimanyu is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been possible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this. Now, the Suta Goswami is saying that now we are all engaged in the sacrifice. It is because of Maharaj Parikshit's rule. Otherwise, you will not be able to peacefully sit and do this yajna. And now, Prabhupada is pointing out here in this purport, if the common people are not receptive, it is very difficult to impress upon them the necessity of spiritual advancement. So, austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness, the basic principles of religion, prepare the ground for the reception of advancement in spiritual knowledge. And Maharaj Parikshit made this favorable condition possible. Now you see, now this is an interesting point here. So if you want people to become more adaptive to hear the spiritual subject matter, people to become more, the oral reception it has to increase. Then what has to be done by the government? If the people's interest to spirituality it has to increase, what has to be done by the government?
They have to encourage more.
Encourage more?
Hearing, chanting.
Following the 4 principles, chanting of this thing.
They have to listen to Brahmanas.
Yeah, they have to listen to the Brahman. All spiritual activities. So main thing, the government should enforce this regulative principles. Sinful activities has to be completely stopped. That's what Prabhupada is hinting. So then, say Parikshit was able to do that. Then what happens? Then you get the spiritual stamina. By spiritual stamina, people can sit for hours. Previously they used to sit. Now very difficult. Modern day, very difficult. Influence of Kali is so much. You cannot sit. But naturally, people get strength by having all these principles. Okay, so we will stop here. Now we can take some questions. Yes.
Sometimes to, as you mentioned, that one devotee in Russia, he used to give to Krishna 50% of his salary, and then he used to use for himself 50%. But then because of this, his business flourished, and then he started giving more. So means with both sides we can see, negative side and positive side, that he started giving because already he is getting more, So no problem, I can give more to Krishna. That's
So in that case, they were devotees. So they were devotees, and he got extra money and he gave it for Krishna. Okay, and seeing that, I think I didn't exactly tell you the story. Seeing that is one of his son or relative, someone, he also started contributing like that and like that. But they are devotees. They have understanding that. They were not really motivated. But some people, they do go and you contribute to Balaji and they have deal with him. Okay, deal 1 lakh, 10,000. Next time 2 lakhs. It's not like that. But actually, many times it do happens that Krishna reciprocates. But the devotee, whatever profit he gets, he just gives for Krishna. There are so many devotees like that. For example, we will take some examples. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple, what he was doing was, who was that? Professor Samuel. I remember, I forgot the initial name. Husband and wife, for their maintenance, whatever he was a professor, he used whatever very high standard, whatever salary he was getting, he will directly come and give to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will calculate whatever the expenses needed for his family to run, he will give monthly. There are many devotees in our movement also. When Prabhupada wanted, recently Guru Maharaj was giving a class. Prabhupada Maharaj was quoting about when Mataji, Prafulita Mataji. Yeah. She, to buy the, let me tell you what was the center, Detroit temple, they needed a lot of funds. And that Mataji, whatever money she had, she was quite wealthy. She said, I want to please Prabhupada. So, whatever wealth she had, she just gave for Krishna. And how, after that, she just led her life by distributing books. Whatever, she didn't keep anything for her also. So then just managed by distributing books, whatever little money they are getting distributed, they are leading life like that. So Maharaj is glorifying some of the devotees, God brothers and God sisters who very much volunteered to give their hard-earned money to Krishna because they have realized it. When we are attached to difficult, bro, when you realize it, this really service to Krishna, pleasing Krishna is a real goal of life. When somebody has got a realization, whatever pranair, arter, diya, vacha, shreya, acharanam sada, he will come forward and give. And he knows happiness is not here. So he is not attached in giving. Some people, they very much calculate when it comes to giving to Krishna. Sometimes we see someone, maybe a tailor, but he will be giving such a good donation. From his capacity, 1,000 rupees per month is a big thing. But person who may be able to easily give 10 lakhs per month, he will just give once in 6 months some 2,000 rupees. Because he has not understood it. He has not understood the importance of serving Krishna, giving to Krishna. So again, this hearing of this translated knowledge it helps so much. And when you understand it properly, you are saved also from distress. It's completely the other way around, right? What is the general understanding? The more we accumulate, the more we have in the bank balance, the more we have houses, the more we... That's how the whole, right from young age children are also trained like that, economic growth, you should be a great person in society. You become a doctor, become an engineer, so that you can be... I have suffered so much. I have been a farmer. I don't want my son to be a farmer. So the father is ready to take a huge amount of loan in the banks. Our own devotees, many of the devotees who are right there in the ashram now. Fathers, some of them are from a very simple background. Fathers, they took loan, so much loan in the bank. They are all there. Some of them are farmers. Not big money they had. The loan is some 28,000, 30,000 loan they took. So some of them put the son in engineering college. Because the whole society is trained like this. Keep money, because they know anything higher in life. Money, some position, and whatever higher values, no understanding of higher values. Life, because they are thinking that life is only one, everything is finished. So whatever it is, let us be happy. And they think somehow my son and my grandson, grandchildren, they should be happy. So I will try to save as much money as possible for them. So we just read this money will not bring happiness. Like the Prabhupada is saying one statement, I'm not able to reflect that. It's a nice statement Prabhupada is saying. Happiness doesn't lie there, he says. Anything else?
He will also get benefit if he can give 10 lakh, but he is giving 2,000, at least something. Definitely.
Whatever you do, little bit you do for Krishna, you are certainly benefited. There are some people who are cutthroat misers. They don't even want to give. They don't want to give anything. I don't want to say. In the class, I want to say something, but the famous one. Anyway, so people are like this. But one will get little sukriti. Definitely, whatever you will do little bit for Krishna, one will get tremendous Sukriti. We will see in the next chapter how it is said in Kali Yuga. Even you are not able to physically, even you have good thoughts. I want to really help this devotee. I want to really, it would be very nice if the pathway, if I can just design this pathway with beautiful lotuses on either side. You just in the heart you think, you get so much Sukriti. But one good thing is in Kali Yuga also is that if you think mentally, the previous is very dangerous. If you think mentally that this rascal has to just suffer, and you get immediate reaction for that. Because mentally you are cursing him, and you will be suffering, you will get reaction for that. But in Kali Yuga, you may mentally do so many things, and externally you may laugh and other things. Good, the mental thing, you don't have a negative reaction for that. If that is the case, then we are all burnt into ashes actually. We are in a terrible situation. That is one big plus in Kali Yuga actually. But for that, keeping that as the premise, we should not anyway. There is no reaction. Let me in the mind only think so much nonsense about these things. Again, we know from Gita, because whatever that is in mind, very soon it's going to become an action. So we have to be careful about that. Although you don't get reaction, but still, it's not too much distance. It's very subtle, just like a fire. And when a spark hits the fuel, it just picks up. So it's like that. Be careful. Anything else? Yes.
Even in previous ages, some influence of Kali Yuga was there, because completely like this meat eating, prostitution was completely not prohibited.
I got your question. Now, I would say you will not say the influence of Kali Yuga. It is degradation. We will say the pure standards were degraded, but the Kali actually enters. The Kali actually enters when this Yuga starts. There is a big background behind it, history behind it. I will discuss offline in this class how Kali entered, what the Shastra says, what Bhavishya Purana says, how Kali got a role, how he entered. Yes, you are right, but from the first Yuga, everything was the top class, top standard. Prabhupada is discussing many purports. 1/4, everything is reducing. But the Kali actually, really he starts his influence after Krishna left. He was able to come in. And if you are okay, then I just recently was trying to collect some information, very interesting information. It's a small 3-page document. I will just go through it quickly at the end. We will do it later. Any other questions, anything else to discuss? Okay.
In one purpose,
yes.
Prabhupada was writing that real Kshatriyas, they don't surrender. Something he writes when Kali surrenders to Parikshit Maharaj.
Can you just point out? That would be nice. I'm getting the point. But you can see that's what if I understand the question that sometimes the Kshatriyas will not compromise. But Parikshit was such an able king. It is also a duty of a Kshatriya when somebody surrenders to show compassion to him. They don't misuse, they don't kill someone when somebody surrenders. They protect him. And at the same time, as he said in this verse, Kali cannot do his atrocious activities because Parikshit is firm in not allowing adharmic things to adharmic activities to take place. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.